up, YouTube? It's Biblical Truther. Been away for a little bit, been having some technical difficulties, but I think I got it all figured out now. But last weekend I started doing some research on a situation that was going down up in Massachusetts involving the Moors. And I'd heard that name before prior, digging into hidden history and basically hidden history of our country as well as others around the world, and that name had came up, so I had some familiarity with it. But last weekend, I think it was Saturday morning, on the news up in Massachusetts, there was a standoff between the Moors and the Massachusetts State Police. And I don't know if you heard about this, but it did get some coverage on Fox News, and I thought it'd be an odd why no one else was talking about it. But they were arguing some good points, just to give them a little credit. However, this is going to have some ramifications for the rest of us, I do believe. So let's check out this video real quick on some of the coverage. I kind of chopped it up a little bit to sum it up, shorten it up, but check this out.
It's so we've been out here since 1:53 a.m. It is July 3rd, 2021. We are in North America, Morocco. We are on the Interstate 95 near exit 57.4.
It's just bizarre. Now, this weekend, 11 heavily armed men wearing tactical gear and claiming exemption from U.S. law and state law shut down part of a Massachusetts interstate during a traffic stop. Well, they say they're part of a group that calls themselves the Rise of the Moors and say they were on their way to, quote, training. Well, the entire ordeal, it ended after an 8-hour-long standoff with police. And for reference, the Capitol breach lasted about 3 hours. Now, some of the members were arraigned yesterday in what became a pretty chaotic hearing.
How can I get a probation? How can I answer these questions of probation if I've not been charged? I've not committed a crime. I'm not guilty.
I'm not a sovereign. I'm a national. All right. You understand? I am not a 13th or 14th Amendment fictitious entity. I am a free Moor. I am a national, a living, breathing man.
It's a reasonable question to ask. Why isn't this being covered by the media, and what else do we need to know about them? Well, joining me now are two men who know these types well. Todd McGee, former Massachusetts State Trooper, and Chris Swecker, former FBI Assistant Director. Todd, now, you know this group. I've never heard of this group before, but you know them well from your time as a state trooper up there. Now, what can you tell us?
Well, I think we first need to point back to sovereign citizen ideology. And what's important about sovereign citizen ideology is recognizing the recruitment tools and the propaganda that's used by the Rise of the Moors and other Moorish groups such as this, and they will point to things such as the treaty dating back to 1777. I've also seen dates of 1787, which was a treaty between the United States and the country of Morocco. Well, what that treaty was about maritime laws for maritime that allowed privilege of the United States and the privileges for the Moroccan country, their maritime, to support privileges based on economic, not treaties for citizens, but economic reasons. Just like sovereign citizens will also use maritime laws in order to confuse law enforcement during motor vehicle stops. So we have to understand that they don't recognize themselves as sovereign citizens. However, their ideology is closely aligned to sovereign citizen ideology.
The Second Amendment right.
So, Todd, what kind of training are they doing? And they seem to both cite the Constitution and then kind of claim they're not really beholden to any laws that are passed constitutionally. So it's a very odd dynamic. They're kind of picking and choosing what they will be held accountable by and to.
And that's the argument. They say that they are not anti-government, but to Chris's point, they skirt around with their language, their ideology. They will make reference to that they are independent of the law, not anti-government. To me, if you're not following the laws of the U.S., then you're anti-government. But regarding the ideology as they would speak to traveling, they say it's their God-given right to travel. That's why they don't need driver's licenses. So again, they split hairs. They find this way to manipulate words and make the words basically justify their actions. What we're seeing with the social media, the flag, and all these different things, this is going to be a propaganda and recruitment tool. So they're absolutely going to use and leverage this to gain other people and interests. Now, we don't know how many are out there. There are conflicting numbers, but watch and see the level of interest that this most recent incident over the weekend will gain the attention for the rise of the Moors.
Well, Chris, we've heard a lot from our FBI director, Christopher Wray, and from the Attorney General of the United States, Merrick Garland, about the growing white supremacist threat in the United States, growing domestic terror threat. I never heard these guys mentioned, and yet in Daytona a couple weeks ago in Florida, a black paramilitary individual shot and killed a Daytona police officer. This doesn't kind of fit the narrative of Charlottesville or the white supremacists, you know, and everything that they obsess on. So why aren't we really understanding more about them, and why isn't the federal government speaking out about this?
Yeah, as you mentioned, I mean, they present a danger to law enforcement. They don't recognize any authority, but yet they're not recognized as extremists. Even the Southern Poverty Law Center backed off on that. They had them classified as a sovereign nation and almost a domestic terrorist group, but they backed off on that and just said they're anti-government.
So I hope you noticed when this guy was holding their flag on the side of the road, the orientation of the star on that flag. And it's a known symbol if you know you're in the truth community and whatnot. But it's also another symbol used by a fraternal brotherhood of, I'll just say it, Freemasonry, you know, the block builders of America, right? Well, that's the first thing I noticed while this guy was talking, and he kept referring to, we have our nation's flag up, you know, we're holding our nation's flag and yada, 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 and going on, so on and so forth. But also in that video on Fox, they tied this into sovereignty, and you cannot be a citizen and claim sovereignty. It just doesn't go together. For one, sovereignty means independent of any rulership, whereas the definition of citizen. So this is the law dictionary. See what citizen means. In general, a member of a free city or jural society, possessing all the rights and privileges which can be enjoyed by any person under its constitution and government, and subject to the corresponding duties. As you can see, if you consider yourself a citizen, then you are beholden to the jural or jurisdiction of any said government, which doesn't give you any sovereignty because you have to follow their rule. So I think this is going to have some ramifications, especially I found it interesting that this is happening now when the whole sovereignty, and this is a word that they put on that, kind of like, you know, Kim stuff in the sky, you know, that word, when you try and look that word up, it takes you on some nonsensical rabbit trails when you should be looking up geoengineering. But however, they use this phrase back in, I think, the 80s is when the main movement of this started. Might have been even in the 70s, when people started realizing the predicament that we're under, you know, as far as what we're told we have to use for identification, and our names being in all caps, and what that means because a government cannot do, or a corporation cannot do business with something or someone or some living thing that is not, a dead entity or corporation. So this is being known, it's being spread around a good bit in the truth community, and a lot of people are waking up to this deception that we've found ourselves in, this predicament. So I think this might be used, and I'm going to keep an eye on how many times this comes up. But our sovereignty falls under the Fifth Amendment and the inalienable rights that are given to us by God. And the Fifth Amendment reads, "No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process." And that deprivation of life and liberty is what is going on now and has been for, decades. Never has our mind control or government taken any rights from us and given them back. If you can think of one, I'd love to hear it in the comments, because I cannot seem to find one that they've taken and given back to us. And some, smart but troll might say, well, they took our rights away last year in the lockdowns and now we're free to move about. But no, sir. That was just a warm up to see who all is going to comply. But anyway, our sovereignty was created by God. That was the whole reason Jesus came in the first place. If it was 2,000 years ago, that's the reason he came then, is because they had the same oppression of the people as they do now. Basically, the Roman Empire, which all roads lead to Rome, that saying. But it's just happening again. This is the Fourth Reich rising. But that's in our Fifth Amendment. It's in our Bill of Rights. It's in our Declaration of Independence about these inalienable rights, our natural rights to live unhindered by any mind control entity. So that falls under the natural laws, or universal laws as they're called, which is why they have to tell us the things that they do before they do it, which if no one objects, then it's basically like giving them consent to do it. So they kind of absolve all their I don't even know what word to use, but basically absolves them of all repercussions from having done the things that they're doing, just because the people consented. Just like with the stay in your house and don't go anywhere last year, all the people consented. Therefore, they're going to do it again, just a matter of time. So just be ready for that. But I do believe, with everybody waking up to this, that this whole situation with the Moors and the rise of the Moors, which I find ominous just in the name, but you have to do your history search on the Moors, and you will find that they have a Masonic background. Like the Shriners with the fez, that comes from the ancient free, what is it called? The ancient free and accepted Mason. And it's usually abbreviated on such things as this. Which is the Massachusetts State Police badge, or patch, which is a Masonic patch. I mean, you can't argue with that. But I also found this picture when researching the Moors. As you can see on the pyramid, it has the AF and the AM, which is Ancient, Free, and Accepted Masons. So who are some of these people that have rose to the top to be idols for the American people and many other people around the world? Well, let's see. I got a little montage of some pictures of some familiar faces you may know who are in this said Moorish Freemasonry. Check it out. Yeah, you've seen all those big names. Those, you know, I mean, it's from Farrakhan to Whoopi to Shaq to, I mean, you can just go through the gambit of these people, and they all claim this Moorish roots of Freemasonry. So when they are throwing these people up against the very brotherhood that they align themselves with, you know, the state police versus the Moors, you kind of just got to laugh at the blatancy of it, you know, because most people aren't even going to look into who the Moors are. Some people might have an idea of who they are, but these are the ancient, free, and accepted Masons. This goes all the way back to Egypt, which is why if you look into the Moors and Freemasonry, you'll see a whole lot of Egyptian symbolism around these people, which is also in most of the Freemasonic lodges around the country. You know, it's the whole Fez, Islamic symbol on the Fez. You know, there's a couple of different types that they have as far as the name on the Fez for the Shriners, but this is their roots, man. And who do you think, if these people are doing all this to us, who do you think their God is? I mean, it's kind of well known now that the God of Masonry is not the God of the Bible. It is the adversary, the one who stands before God and points the finger at us. You know what I'm saying? The accuser. That's who their God is. And you know who the God of the Fez is. I'm not going to say the proper term of them, but you know who I'm talking about, with the little sword and the star. You know, for those of you who might not catch my acronyms, I guess is the word, but those people, they are set up by not only just our country and our CI to the A, but they were funded by Mr. Our only not white president we've ever had. Let me just put it that way, because everyone knows what religion he really belongs to, and it's not Christianity. Just like Trump don't belong to Christianity because he is a pantheon god believer. You know, just look at his penthouse. I mean, he loves to show off his things. So you'll see the apotheosis of Washington, Apollo, all these other Greek gods and goddesses around that he surrounds himself with. So for all you who still thinks he's a Christian, man, get your head out the sand, for real. Like, if he does come back, it's to implement the Jasara. And it's not what you think. It's a global economic system. It says it right there in the little abbreviation of what it is. You know what I'm saying? It's a national economic system and a global economic system. So taking us back to the gold standard ain't gonna do nothing. Not for America anyway. You know, we are the sacrificial lamb to this beast system. So I hope you guys are ready. Hope you guys are getting ready. But definitely keep your eyes out and ears out for this Moors situation, because they are actively declaring them a terrorist organization, if you get my meaning, or extremist, as well as, you know, the T-Man followers. You know, all those guys that stormed the Capitol, and, you know, what's the arrest up to? 600, 700, 800 people now who went out there, who are now sitting in jail without due process for storming the, our place of government, our place of mind control. When their favorite guy told them to come on down, they completely ignored the videos where the police was like, come on in, let me take you on a tour, It's crazy, man. It's crazy. But don't allow these people to start this race war, because Jesus said it's coming. It's gonna happen. Ethnos against ethnos, right? Ethnicity against ethnicity. It's not so much kingdom against kingdom as it is people groups versus people groups. So just don't let this thing like get you to thinking that we're not all brothers and sisters, regardless of color. You know what I'm saying? That's just a fictitious imagination that they put in people's heads who do not do their own research, and most of which had bad childhoods and bad upbringings and lived in, poor neighborhoods and impoverished lifestyles. They're the ones that fall for this because they think that it's the man, the white man keeping them oppressed, and that's just the order of the day. You know what I'm saying? That's just what they're pushing. And for a lot of people, I have a personal experience after all this stuff started. I got out at a Rite Aid in Hattiesburg, and this was I think around July of last year. I was getting back in my truck and I heard this black guy say, "Hey, Mike." So I stepped back out my truck and I was like, "What's up?" And the dude kind of just freaked out on me. He was like, What? Ain't like you like black people anyway." And I was like, "Bruh, you better get your ass down the sidewalk, dude. I'm not the one, bro. I grew up in the ghetto. I got plenty of black friends, you know what I'm saying? I was born and raised in the hood. Projects. So I've been there. Live with those guys. You know what I'm saying? Most of them are my real good friends that I can still call friends today, because there's not very many real people left in this world, that aren't selfish and all about themselves and out for one and one for nobody. You know what I'm saying? Just that type of person. Most of which I had were best friends back in the day. I can't even call an acquaintance anymore because I just can't be around that type of person. But this whole race thing, man, is a sham. Don't fall for it. And don't allow these guys, these rise of the Moors, to just play into the whole race thing. You know what I'm saying? That's just one big lie upon all the other big lies that they feed us. So I just wanted to put this out there, man, in case anybody is still wondering who these people are and why it was made a big deal of last weekend. But it hadn't really been covered lately, and I don't know why. It's kind of odd, but I'm gonna keep an eye on it. But I am late making this video, and it is what it is. But I haven't seen nobody else talk about it. But hey, to each his own, man. You know what I'm saying? If you want to fall for the lies, fall for the lies. If you want to know the truth, then Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life. Without him, there is no life. You know what I'm saying? He gave us these inalienable rights, God-given rights. And he came back last time peaceably, trying to teach the people the right way. He said, love thy neighbor as thyself, and love God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. On these two hinges all the laws. You know what I'm saying? That's all you got to do. That's all we got to do. Regardless of color, regardless of faiths, regardless of all that, man. Because it's all a deception. It's all a deception to keep us divided. Just like Jesus said again, a house divided shall not stand. So as long as they keep us divided, they know they can break us. So that's my rant for today. I love you guys. See you on the next.
Stand therefore, having your loins girt about with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked, and take the helmet of salvation, and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, praying always with all prayer and supplication in the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication for all saints,